DJ Khaled voice, and another one. South Carolina lands another four-star sequel. I don't know how to say it. We're going to learn his name, and we're going to learn it fast. Sequel Patterson, four-star athlete, number 2 overall player in the state, commits to the Gamecocks. Big news for them. We talk about what it means, where he's going to play, and what's the latest on the recruiting hot board, including Landon Duckworth and his odds of landing in Columbia. Locked On Gamecock starts right now.
You are Locked On Gamecocks, your daily podcast on the South Carolina Gamecocks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, guys? Welcome into Locked On Gamecocks. I'm your host, Chris Marlar, and I hope everyone's having a fantastic Friday, Saturday, whenever you're listening to this. I'm recording it on Friday. It is happy hour. It's the last day of vacation, and it's a great day because South Carolina got another commitment, which we're going to get into here shortly. Before we do, I want to say thank you to everyone out here making Locked On Gamecocks your first listen each and every day. Shout out to our everydayers. Remember, we're a free and available podcast wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now, today's episode brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Listen, download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. I actually just used the Game Time app earlier today so I can get some tickets to see Book of Mormon with the missus on Sunday. We'll get into that some other time. Let's get into what we're here for, and we'll talk about the show today. Like I said, a little bit different surrounding last day vacation here. Here is the topic for today's show. South Carolina lands, I'm assuming it's Sequel Patterson, is how you pronounce the name. If I am pronouncing it wrong, I apologize. You guys know that's one of my biggest flaws. But so they land another four-star. We talk about what it means. We talk about him specifically as a recruit, where he should play at South Carolina. And then we just give an overall update in the second part of the show on the latest with South Carolina recruiting, how things are looking, and a little insight to Landon Duckworth and his recruitment and some positive news there. Last but not least, we'll talk a little bit about the NBA draft. Our boy Colin Murray-Boyles gets drafted number 9 overall, has an unintended viral moment following that, which was pretty funny. So let's get into the show. Sequel Patterson, four-star athlete from the state of South Carolina. Very, very big deal. And from Indian land, South Carolina. That's shocking that that's allowed to be said in 2025, but good for them. So Sequel Patterson, four-star commit. He becomes the 9th player in this class to commit to South Carolina. He's the 6th four-star. Now, 6 feet, 170, not the biggest player, and there's a reason for that, okay? Sequel Patterson was originally a 2027 recruit. He reclassified into the 2026 class. So he's a rising senior, but he should be a rising junior. Now, the most impressive thing about this kid, it's not his size. He's 6 feet, 170. He will grow. And I imagine that he will probably end up being more of a slot guy. I could see him putting on at least 15 pounds before next fall, when would be the first time he's eligible to hit the field for Carolina. But there's so many parts of this that are becoming routine that are still really impressive. So I want to make sure that we don't oh yeah, they got another four-star. This is a big deal, okay? It's a big deal for a number of reasons. Think about it. I want you to think about where we were a year ago, okay? Think about where we were a year ago. You didn't have this influx of talent at the receiver position you were bringing in yet. You had a couple of guys that you were bringing in, but you did not have that kind of class that you were able to pull off in the 2025 class. You also had a receivers coach, Mike Fury, who had a great reputation, had a great resume, and there was a obvious reason why Shane Demer hired him to be the receivers coach at South Carolina, but also very unproven. And the biggest knock on him was, well, how's he going to go recruit? I'm sure he's a good coach. How's he going to go recruit? He has recruited his ass off, excuse my language, but he has done a phenomenal job recruiting for this university and for this team. Listen, I was blown away with last year's receiving class, right? This is just another one that you can add to the mix. That's another four-star player. And here's the thing. There's so many things that are becoming routine with this. But like I said, you don't want to sit here and just be like, oh, yeah, it's expected at this point. It will be. But that doesn't mean that we don't celebrate the wins and we don't talk about how big of a deal this is. Another notch on the belt from a recruiting standpoint for Mike Fury. Another notch on the belt for Shane Demer, being able to win an in-state player. He's the number 2 overall player in state. He's ranked the 189th player in the country in the 2026 class from 247 Sports. He's a 4-star consensus 4-star player. His biggest thing is explosiveness. Like, he in and out of his breaks very, very smoothly. But here's the thing that I keep going back to that's kind of crazy to me. This kid, right? He's good by all means. A top 200 player in the country, 4-star recruit. Love it. Fantastic. Here's what we're not talking about, though, and we should be talking more about it. Shane Demer went out and got himself arguably the best receiving class in the country last year. He's continued to add on to that this year. Really just like an abundance of an embarrassment of riches at this position. Now, he's listed as an athlete, 6 feet 170. Okay. A 4-star recruit across the board. But like I said earlier, he reclassified to the 2026 class. That means this kid was supposed to be a 2027 class. All of the hype around him, we're basing that off of his film, which was from his sophomore year. Okay. And in that class, in the 2027 class that he was supposed to be in, he was originally ranked the 18th overall player in the country. I know rankings change a lot. I know they change throughout the years. This is a very early look at that recruiting class. These are kids that are not going to graduate high school for another 23 months, right? But here's the deal, okay? Here's the deal. You're talking about the number 18 overall player in that class. That's almost sure, almost undoubtedly a 5-star. And you're bringing him at receiver and you adding him into a class where, man, I mean, like, you look at the numbers, Jamel House, tight end that you brought in as a 4-star. These are just the people that you are throwing the football to. That's just from this year. You talk about everyone that you brought in from a year ago, right? And the players that you're bringing in now. Donovan Murph's a guy that's going to come in and probably contribute right away. Like, you already have the other guys in place that you talk about, like from a former 5-star standpoint. Obviously, an elite recruiting standpoint with Nick Harbor. Then you have guys like Malik Clark, the number 1 overall player in that class, from the number 1 ranked player from South Carolina's class a year ago, top 100 player nationally. Then you talk about Brian Rowe. That's a kid who is not huge by any means, but has a physical freak. If you've seen any of the pictures of him in camp, looks the part for sure. Top 300 player. What else do we have in this class? Jordan Gidron. Now, keep in mind, too, Gidron is a guy that's another one that enrolled early. So what I love about this is you're getting these kids, you're getting them early, you're getting them from in-state. Jordan Gidron's a kid from Ridgeview. It's from downtown Columbia, South Carolina. Brian Rose, a kid from North Carolina. Malik Clark, a kid from Rock Hill. You are putting up a fence around the state. And I talked about this before. You're also doing something that it's always important. And it's in a state in South Carolina that, as we've talked about, doesn't have a ton of consistent in-state talent. But you have heard our buddy Darren Usher talk about this and the bumper crop of talent they feel like they have in-state in the 2026 and especially the 2027 class that they're eager to recruit. You're taking full advantage of something that this program has done, especially under Beamer, where they have said, we want people to stay here. The best stay home in South Carolina. The best stay home. We want people, and I'll get fired up when I talk about this. There's a lot to be said for going out and recruiting 4- and 5-star elite blue chip players, which obviously we know works for the most part. We've seen Georgia and Bama and Ohio State and all those teams, right? There's something to be said for that. That's awesome. There's something to be said about having a national footprint and being able to go out to California or Texas or up north or wherever and bring kids, to play wherever your school is. That's great. There is also something to be said for putting up a fence around your damn state and saying that kid that grew up in the backyard of Williams-Brice Stadium, or that kid that grew up in the shadows of South Carolina lore and watching, some of these players and grew up his first memories of this program or from the 2011 to 2013 seasons and seeing this program starting to rise under Beamer, like that kid who maybe grew up wanting to wear the garnet and black. Let's go get that kid. That kid understands what it means to put on this jersey with the name on the front of the chest and the logo on the side of that helmet and say, I want to go win for South Carolina, and I want to go win for South Carolina today. I want to be a difference maker in this program. I got goosebumps right now. I'm firing myself way too much. But that's a big deal. Like that's a big deal. And I feel like sometimes we wax poetic about stuff and say, oh, yeah, it's great to have a 4-star recruit. It's always great to have 4- and 5-star recruits, and the blue chip ratio is important, and we know all that. But getting kids in your backyard, especially when they're blue chip recruits, massive. And Shane Demer and staff have done it again. Listen, we need to take a short break before I got to get off the soapbox. I'm going to let myself down here off the soapbox. Before we do, I do want to tell you about our friends at the Game Time app. And when we come back from break, we're going to continue to talk about this. But before that, I do want to say, listen, Game Time app, I'm not just saying this. I've used it in a pinch on more than one occasion. I use it today. To get, like I said, Book of Mormon tickets for me and the missus on Sunday at the Fox Theater here in Atlanta. But have you ever decided last minute you want to head to a ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's game day. You suddenly realize you want to be in the stands. That's exactly where Game Time comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without the stress. With the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, or even invite a bigger group to come with you. Game Time makes all that possible. Game Time makes buying tickets fast and simple. Price on the app, you actually drop closer to you that you get to first pitch. And they've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. I'll give you my firsthand example from buying tickets today. I found 2 tickets, lower level in the orchestra pit. If you guys are familiar with theater, I'm not really. My girlfriend is. We are going to see Book of Mormon. I've seen it before. It's actually really, really funny. It's like a South Park thing. But anyway, we got tickets, and there were 2 that I was like, all right, what's the best available deal? Game Time breaks all that down for you. Best available deal. It shows you your pricing all up front. So I'm looking at 2 tickets. I'm like, well, these are 70. These are 78 a piece. I don't know how much I want to spend. I mean, I would rather spend cheaper if I can. I find out from the seat view that they have in the app, oh, the $70 ones, they are cheaper. They might have an obstructed view. So let's just go ahead and splurge the 78. There's a deal on those. And I get all in pricing up front. So I know right away my total is only going to be $156. There's no surprises at checkout. I was in, out, and there you go. And now I've got tickets to Sunday's show. Cannot wait. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. But again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, when we come back, I guarantee you we're going to continue talking about how big of a pickup that Sequel Patterson was in this recruiting cycle, and also how good of a job this staff has done so far and where this class ranks. Locked On Gamecocks continues next. Man. All right. Let's get into it. So, like I said, Sequel Patterson, 4-star recruit. Here's the bigger part of this more than anything. I love the fact that, like I said, top 20 recruit in his original signing class, still a top 200 recruits in this year's class. You're putting up a fence around the state. You're going in there. I need to just run the numbers on this at some point. It doesn't take long. I just need to be off vacation and get back to work, which I promise I will be doing soon. But when you talk about there being only 9 recruits so far, I'm surprised, and there's still some days left. I'm surprised there's not been more. What's the best way to put it? I'm surprised there haven't been more commits in June. Like I saw Mike Yuba post this the other day, and it's a great spot. I like, you remember it last year, especially. It felt like an overwhelming amount of the total recruits they got in last year's class all happened in June, right? There was like 10 players, I think, committed in the month of June. He's had 30 commit in the month of June. Shane Demer has, since he's gotten to Columbia. So June has been a very big focal point for them, which I love, because you're talking about coming off of the spring, getting into the evals for this class. Then you have the opening part for the following year, the rising juniors that you're allowed to start contacting. Like, all of this playing out on your schedule is a really good deal. And it's also when he brings in all these players to his camps, right? And you've seen him offer these kids from camp. I love what they're doing here, and they're setting a pattern. They're setting a standard of what they want to do moving forward. It's a great system, and it's obviously paying off dividends, especially in the month of June. Now, We talk about what this means for them. They brought in they only move up to the 17th ranked class in the country according to On3. Okay, that is fine. I think in like the 247 one, they are much lower. They were like 50 something because they don't have as many commits as some of these other players, right? Or some of these other teams. And that's fine. Like, we don't really care. Like this, there's still 6 months to go. There's no reason to get super, hung up on any of the rankings as of today. What I will say is South Carolina on this is on 247. They currently rank, let's see here. Oh, it's not good. It's only because they have 9 recruits. They currently rank 57th. They jumped up 10 spots from 67 to 57 because they have those 9 recruits. But 6 of them are 4-stars. And you've seen this play out in real time over the last several years. Listen, you haven't had a bunch of classes where you're bringing in 24 stars by any means. You've had several classes where you brought in, 8, 9, 10, but you've already got 2/3 of this class right now as a blue chip recruit. Okay. If you get 9 right now, you're going to probably bring in, I would assume, at least 15 more. If you bring in 6 more, that gives you double digits. That gives you 12 total 4-star recruits. And if you do that, I mean, that means half of your class are blue chip recruits. That's how you start building into this as a program. The blue chip ratio is, whether we like it or not, is a very big deal when you talk about teams that play or compete for a national championship. It's become like a proven science from our buddy. What is his name? Why can't I remember this? I'm drawing a blank on his name. It's FSU guy. He does the Cover 3 podcast. Anyway, but the blue chip ratio thing has become a pretty much a proven science. Getting to over half of your average number of 4-stars you sign in a class already with only 9 total commits, it feels like you are way ahead of schedule. And I do not expect them in this class, especially with not just the bumper crop of talent they have in state, but the players they are in very, very serious and good contention for. There's no part of me that expects them to start just backing off and taking, oh, we're probably just going to get more 3-stars and we're probably good here. We've got enough talent. Is it like, that's not going to happen. They're not going to take their foot off the gas here. I said this a few weeks ago, and I think a couple people might have rolled their eyes because it is June and we don't want to sit here and get ahead of our skis necessarily. But this class has the makings of becoming maybe the biggest or highest ranked recruiting class in the history of this program. I know where it ranks right now. It also ranks 10th in the country, according to On3, in terms of average recruiting rank per player. Top 10 nationally. It's up there with Michigan, Ohio State, Texas, Bama, LSU, Georgia, and then little old South Carolina as our idiot. I shouldn't say idiot. He's probably a nice guy. Dabo would say. But South Carolina coming into this upcoming season, it's not that you're like last year was when you turned the corner. And I know what the expectation is from the outside because it's still pissing me off and blowing my mind that people are like, yeah, they're probably going to win 5 games. The corner has been turned. Like I hope everyone realizes that. The corner has been turned. Doesn't mean you're going to win 10, 12 games every year or 9 games every year. You're going to have some ups and downs and stuff like that. But the corner has been turned. What you're living in now is the new era of this program, which is you're going to start competing with guys obviously in your state, but nationally for top 10, top 15 classes in the country. And that may not sound crazy because you've always been around there, but you really haven't. You've hovered around top 20. Now you're talking about top 10. That's a different level of players across the board that you're bringing in. Now, the other news, and you talk about from a recruiting standpoint, there's a lot of guys that they're still really, really in on. I don't know how many more receivers they're going to bring in. I don't know how many more receivers they need. But I love the fact that it's been a point of emphasis, and they are building that from the inside out and from the ground up with players they are bringing in from high school recruiting, right? And even if this kid doesn't start, like Patterson doesn't start right away, just like Gidron might not play right away as a true freshman because they're a year younger and they reclassified to a, like one of them's going to be 17 when they go to college, or they're probably going to be 17 when they go to college. Like that if they need another year to adjust, then fine. You've got so much talent in that room still that you're not worried about it. Like if a freshman like Nick Harbor doesn't pan out right away, like he didn't 2 years ago, you're not hamstrung because of what else you have like in that room. Okay, so that's a good news. The other part of this, and I talked to somebody on the staff. We're not going to discuss names or anything like that. And he hasn't. This is not a guarantee, but there is some really important news on the Landon Duckworth front that happened yesterday, and it didn't even happen with South Carolina. But what it happened affected South Carolina indirectly. And in my opinion, I'm not saying that anyone's told me this. I'm saying in my personal opinion, Chris Marlar, guy on vacation that has needed to shave this beard probably for at least 2 weeks. That guy, I personally believe it is a clear-cut indicator that you are going to land Landon Duckworth. And when we come back, I will tell you why I believe that. All right, welcome back into Locked On Gamecocks. I'm your host, Chris Marlar, and let's close out today's show with just a quick little update from the recruiting standpoint, and mainly I'm talking about Landon Duckworth. Duckworth is a big recruit because he's the #1 dual threat quarterback in the country, top 50 player nationally. He was committed to last year. Now he's going to end up going. Everyone thought he was going to go to Ole Miss. Kid out of Alabama. Why wouldn't he want to go play for the self-proclaimed QB whisperer that Hugh Freeze called himself before he took the job? I say all that in jest, but I do say this. Auburn has been really bad at recruiting. They are not all-time or anything like that, and not during Hugh Freeze. Under Hugh Freeze, they have been a monster at recruiting. We're talking about like top 5, top 10 classes out of high school, top 5 classes out of the transfer portal. I mean, they have done a tremendous job of doing what Brian Harsin did not do, which is actively recruit and actively recruit at a very high level. That has not been the case this year. Last year, Auburn took like 8 of the top 10 or 9 of the top 10 players from the state of Alabama. I think the only ones they didn't take was like Naheem Offord, who's the #1 overall player, went to like Oregon or Ohio State. I think it was Oregon, defensive back. But they got like 8 or 9 of the top 10. I don't think Bama got any. Like they put up a state around, or a wall around their state, and they kind of went into that season of like, hey, like this is what the new norm is going to be. Kalen DeBoer's an outsider. He doesn't understand it, blah, blah, blah. Fast forward to this year, Auburn was ranked like 87th in the country in recruiting yesterday before they got a recruit. And I say the before part because it's very important of not only how they got a recruit. I think they had 5 total recruits going into yesterday. And it was ranked 87th. Like I said, let me pull this up, make sure I'm right. It was 82nd. They have jumped all the way up to 78. They are right ahead of Virginia and Idaho. So yesterday's recruit that they got, though, was a 4-star quarterback named Peyton Falzone. Peyton Falzone from Pennsylvania. He was committed to Penn State, leaves, decides he's going to go to Auburn instead. And now he's coming to Auburn, and he's our latest ranked recruit. Every part of this felt desperate. But I don't care about Auburn because I don't cover Auburn, okay? I cover South Carolina and the rest of the SEC. If they took that quarterback, that, to me, tells me you've showed your cards. You've showed your hand. You reaching into Pennsylvania to go get a kid that was on no one's radar. No, like I talked to some guys from Auburn yesterday. They said none of us knew that this was coming up. Now I talked to a couple that said like they felt like they were going to have some recruits come on board soon because they needed to, just from like a optic standpoint. But nobody thought that this kid Peyton Falzone, committed to Penn State, was going to commit to Auburn, which tells me from that reaction and that feeling of desperation, what they are doing is reacting and panicking a little bit and making sure they go get a quarterback because they're flying off the board. There's not a ton of great ones in this class that you're in on, and the only other one that you were really in on was Landon Duckworth. And if you're going to get another 4-star Peyton Falzone from Penn State in this quick desperation, what that tells me is they know what we know, and that is that Landon Duckworth is coming to South Carolina. Now, I could be wrong about that. We've seen this, especially in the same age of recruiting. Ole Miss can come in, throw a bag at him. Auburn come in, throw a bag at him. Some other team, Miami. I don't even know if Miami's recruiting him, but I'm saying that there, you can see another team come in and throw a bag at this kid, and we've seen it happen before. But he himself said that it was between Auburn and Auburn and South Carolina. And Auburn going to get a recruit at that position out of nowhere feels like the writing's on the wall. That Landon Duckworth is going to be in the fold, which would be massive. Like that, I mean, that is a domino that if it falls becomes a building block for this class, and people want to go play with elite players, and they especially want to go play with elite quarterbacks, no matter what side of the ball they're on. This kid is a magnetic personality. There's a lot of kids that are going to want to play with him. He's played with a bunch of them in the 7-on-7 camps. Obviously went out and did the Elite 11 thing, but he's a top 50 player nationally. And bringing in the number 1 ranked dual threat quarterback to be in your room, that is huge, huge. It's huge for a number of reasons. It's especially huge when you consider like who else he could start bringing in with him and building the class with. So Landon Duckworth, in my opinion, is going to end up being a South Carolina Gamecock because of the domino that fell yesterday that we were all hoping would happen at some point. And Auburn, I feel like, has tipped their hand, and that's what's going to happen. All right, let's close out today real quick. I should have done this earlier, but I got long-winded. Shocking, I know, as we get closer to football season. But Colin Murray-Boyles gets drafted 9th overall to Toronto. There was some just formerly attractive, sometime knows what he's talking about, bearded dude with glasses that said he was going to go number 9 to Toronto. I forgot his name. It rhymes with like Maurice Carler. It's like one thing I got right this year, guys. I said this a while back on our Locked In NBA channel that he was a best fit at Toronto because they just didn't have guys that can do what he does. It's more of a defensive team, and the things they've have in place there. They don't have a lot of guys that can go score and play. Or it's the offensive team. They don't have guys that can go do what he does on both ends of the court. Listen, his response was hilarious. Like him getting drafted and dropping a F like was hilarious. And I think he dug himself out of it. I think he was just more surprised than anything going in maybe in the top 10, because there were some people that had him even the day of the draft that had him going around 13 to 16. So good for Colin Murray-Boyles. It's a huge thing for this program. That means you've now had the number 1 overall draft pick in the NFL. If you're the number 1 overall draft pick in the WNBA, you had a top 10 draft pick now recently in the NBA. We all know the baseball history of this program, what they're trying to get back to. But again, another phenomenal piece of this entire athletic department as a whole, not just the football team or anything like that, or women's basketball, to show some strength there. Also love the fact that it was that Chloe Kitts was there with him, and that was just it's like just the king and queen of South Carolina athletics as of last year. So that is all for today's show. I hope you guys have a great weekend. We'll be back tomorrow with another show. We'll be back for the next 3 days as we close out the month with more shows and talking about all things South Carolina, including some intel from the Manning Passing Academy, which I believe Lenoris is down at this week. With our buddy Chris Gordy. So have a great rest of your Friday night. Be careful, be safe, be good to each other, and we'll talk to y'all later. Go Cox.